Imagine living your life after 50 and feeling energized and excited about your future. Welcome to the Women in the Middle podcast, the podcast for women who are ready to figure out what they want and create the life they deserve. Here's your host and master certified life coach, Susie Rosenstein.
Welcome back to the podcast Women in the Middle with over 2 million downloads and counting. I am your host, Susie Rosenstein, your master certified coach, life leadership mentor, and certified Zentangle teacher. And I'm so happy to be here with you again. You know, I really am. You are in the right place if you're a woman over 50 who's starting to feel time differently and want to stop coasting through life. Each episode helps you notice what's really going on in your life, recognize the moments that matter, and begin choosing your next chapter more intentionally. So today we're going to be talking about something that almost every woman over 50 experiences, but doesn't always have the words for. And what I'm talking about is midlife transition, or multiple midlife transitions. Now, you might not call it that. You might just feel like something's off. Your life looks fine, things are working, but something doesn't feel quite right anymore. You might even feel stuck, maybe that you're meant for more, wasting valuable time, something like that. You know, all this stuff because you're not clear about what you want your next chapter to look like. So if that sounds familiar, you are in the right place, and I believe you are right on track. Now, before we dive in, just a quick note. If you already know that you're spinning, tired of feeling stuck, and don't want to keep running on default in this next chapter, and you're ready to get clear about what you want now, I would love to help. You can take some fast action and book a next chapter clarity session at www.talktosusie.com. It's a focused, private conversation together to help you understand what's feeling off and what you want instead. Again, head over to www.talktosusie.com. So let's start here. What is a midlife transition, really? Think about it. Well, the AI summary online says that it's a normal, gradual, and reflective developmental period, usually occurring between ages 40 and 65, characterized by profound personal, physical, and psychological shifts. It involves a conscious reassessment of life goals, values, and identity, often triggered by events like empty nesting, career changes, or aging parents. Now, what do you think about that? I have to say, this can freak many of us out because it's also common to think about it as something really big and dramatic. You know what I mean? Like maybe you would call it a midlife crisis, or that's what comes up in your mind, or a huge breakdown, a giant life overhaul, that kind of thing. But for many of the women I talk to, it's not like that at all. It's quieter. It's like not huge like that. It feels more like something is slightly off. Things don't feel as meaningful as they used to. Maybe you're questioning what you want now, and you're likely way more aware of time. And all in all, it can be pretty confusing because a lot of the time, nothing is obviously wrong. In fact, it might even look pretty good on paper. That's how you might think. So I did a whole episode on this exact feeling if you're curious about digging into it more. It's like when your life looks fine, but you still feel off. And if that resonates, go back and listen to episode 453, and I will put the link in the show notes. That's often where this experience begins. So you might be thinking, if nothing is wrong, that's wrong with a capital W, what is actually happening? And the answer is you're becoming more aware. For years, maybe even decades, you've been fully on, right? You've been living a full, busy, productive life. You've been showing up, producing, creating, managing, and handling all the things. And somewhere along the line, something else happened. You started living a little bit more on default than on purpose. Now, you may not even be fully aware of this. I've been coaching in the midlife space now for over 10 years. And I have to say, it's pretty common, but so many of us don't really catch on to what's going on. Remember, I believe you are right on track. You didn't make a mistake or do anything wrong. It got this way because with age, your life can get pretty full. And now you're starting to notice. You notice how you feel. You notice what's missing. You notice what you've been postponing. You notice how fast time seems to be going. And that awareness can feel unsettling. What's happening now is that you're not just living your life, you're seeing it too. So just like you, I started to notice something was off between 45 and 50. Like, it doesn't happen at the same time for everybody, but that's where I started to really notice something was up. That's when I started also to see that I had to make some kind of a change. And I had my, quote, I hadn't thought about what I wanted in a long time, end quote, moment. I really hadn't. And well, let me correct that. I had a few moments, not just one, where I noticed something big around that time. So today I want to share one of them that happened while celebrating my 50th with my best friend from high school who lived out of town. We decided that after over 30 years, we were finally going to go on vacation together to celebrate our milestone birthdays, like 50. We had visited each other at our homes over the years, of course, but we had never booked a trip out of our hometowns or where we were living at that time, like a proper vacation. We had a beautiful little timeshare on the west coast of Florida on a harbor. We had a balcony, which was just divine. Like, this was exactly the type of vacation I imagined with my bestie. And at night, we loved sitting there together, drinking a glass of wine while eating some crackers and cheese and grapes. Like, oh, so nice. We beaded jewelry out there too and watched the sunset. And it was so funny, but frustrating when it happens. You know, when you're beading, it's very common to drop a bead and then they go boing, 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 and they bounce all over the place. And when you're on a balcony, they leave the building. So all of that happened, and we were enjoying every minute of it. Now, you know, remember, we're looking at the boats, we're watching the sunset, and one day during this time, I presented my bestie with a blank journal. Now, I got a matching one for myself, and together the plan was to come up with 10 ideas of what we really wanted to do over the next 10 years. Just bullet points. We didn't have to figure out all the details, but like to really dig in and think about experiences or things that we wanted to do or try that was meaningful. And that's where I got the idea to take tap dancing lessons, for example. It came out in that little moment. And 2 other bigger ideas came through as well. One was to have the goal to visit each other at least once a year. Now, that might seem obvious, but that's not what had been happening. Sometimes a few years went by. Not because we wanted to see each other in a few years, but that's what happened. The second thing for me was to go whale watching at least once a year. Again, if you're a regular listener, you know that that's one of my favorite things to do in the whole wide world. Yet, you have to really be intentional. Like, I don't live on the ocean. I don't live with whales that are close by. So it's very intentional. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to say this out loud. Now, I know these ideas may not seem like a breakthrough, but think about it. 30 years had gone by. None of these ideas were happening with this kind of commitment. It was huge to me. It felt huge. And now I was committed. Now, this is where something really important comes in. Being on autopilot. It can kind of be a subtle lifestyle shift that's been going on for a while. You can see from my example, autopilot was to not prioritize these 2 goals the way I was ready to do now, or at that time. Autopilot thinking meant that they were nice to have, but not a priority. They weren't treated like a doctor appointment or celebrating Thanksgiving, that kind of thing. So they didn't happen. Again, it can be mixed because sometimes autopilot is useful. It helps you function, stay organized, and get things done. But over time, it can take over. It can look like staying busy instead of intentional, or saying yes automatically, or saying no automatically, prioritizing everyone else, avoiding bigger questions. And then one day, you slow down just enough to see it, and that's what was happening. What used to feel normal now doesn't. It feels misaligned. Like you're not focusing on the things that are most important to you. This is exactly what happened to me that day on the little balcony looking at the boats in the Florida harbor. Now, this kind of an insight can be jarring or feel too big or too hard. And I just want to offer that you don't have to think of this as a problem. I like to think of it as data. It's just information that can be useful for you, the way you're processing an idea about something you want. Like, here's what you could do with this data. You could think something like, wow, I want this. Or you could ask, why don't I have this? And then this big one, what can I do to nurture this commitment to myself? The same thing happened for me with mindful doodling. I knew for years that I would absolutely love to bring more creativity into my business, but I didn't see how, and I didn't realize how integrated and useful it could become. The autopilot part was the way I dismissed the desire. I didn't challenge myself at all. It was easier to say no than yes. And then one day, I saw someone doing Zentangle doodling. I was in an art studio, and I was delighted and intrigued. This was about 12 to 14 years ago. Then, in 2021, my mindset started to shift. I finally became a CZT, a certified Zentangle teacher, and slowly began teaching it in my group coaching program, the Women in the Middle Academy. It was part of the coaching around being present moment functioning. And then finally, earlier this year, 2026, I welcomed Midlife Gals into my new membership, the Midlife Doodle Think Club, where not only do you discover mindful doodling, but you also specifically learn how to slow down and create space to think. So if you're curious about this, the Midlife Doodle Think Club, you can check it out and join us at www.doodlethink.com. So I think you're starting to notice what's happening here with all this stuff. The bottom line is that your relationship with time is what really changes everything. That's what happened for me too. What was I waiting for? Why was I afraid? And so what if I failed? This is all the kind of stuff that can get in your way of you not having your own back. At some point, usually in your 50s and even more in your 60s, you start to feel time differently. You realize that time isn't endless. The years are moving faster. There's more time behind you than ahead of you. And you don't want to waste this chapter and risk having regrets. And that's where this question shows up. What do I actually want now? And this is why I say that it's so important to stop living like time doesn't matter, because it does. So think about it. What about you? Have you had the experience of realizing that time is precious? You may know my story related to this. It starts in my childhood. I've outlived both of my parents by decades in that they both died very young. I was only 5 when my mother died at 32, and I was only 12 when my father died at 41. I had an unfortunate front row seat of watching 4 of my grandparents grieve the loss of their adult children, who sadly didn't get the gift of aging. They did not have the privilege to age. This is something so many of us take for granted. So yes, I got the time is precious memo at a young age, and I understood it clearly. But I'm asking you, do you understand it clearly? Do you really believe that aging is a gift? So here's the thing about midlife transitions. They don't happen in just one area of your life, typically. There's like all kinds of things that are connected. Even though that's what it can feel like when you're in it, they can show up across your life. So I've shared some examples for you to think about. And you might notice it yourself in the empty nest kind of phase or career, pre-retirement or early retirement, relationships, maybe your energy and health, that kind of stuff. And when it shows up in more than one place, it can feel like a lot. You know why? Because it is. And when you're not clear about what you want or how to take action, it can feel really, really heavy. So what you might be thinking is, what's a girl to do? What do most people do here? What are the midlife gals up to when this kind of stuff becomes obvious? Well, they try to fix it. That's what we do. We typically try to push harder, get more productive, wait for clarity, or phone a friend. You know what I mean? Look for answers outside yourself. When I was stuck like this, I just kept asking my friends, thinking that, oh, they're older and wiser than I am. They'll know me better than I know myself. So this is all kinds of stuff that we typically do. But the thing is, it typically doesn't work because this isn't a problem to solve. It's something to understand. So as I mentioned, it's very common experience at this age and stage. You've been capable and responsible for a long time. And now something is asking for your attention in a different way. So get ready for a little truth bomb. What actually helps is much simpler. It's paying attention. This is a better way forward. So here's a more helpful way to approach this stage of your life. First, notice what's really going on. Not just what your life looks like, but how it feels. Noticing your feelings is a key part of what you need to move forward. Second, get clear about what you want now, not what made sense before. I'm going to say that again because it's really a big deal. Get clear about what you want now, not what made sense before. So many times we just want to keep going like we've been talking about, and all of a sudden you're on autopilot and you don't sense the difference. So focus on what you want now. And then third, start making small intentional shifts. A giant reinvention isn't always called for, but thoughtful changes that reflect who you are now, that's what's called for. That's what's really important. This is what I call midlife life leadership. Choosing your life on purpose, especially now at your age and stage. So if you're listening and thinking, okay, this is me, start here. Pay attention to what feels off. Stop waiting for the right time. Ask yourself better questions. Make one small change and get support. You don't need to figure everything out right away. You really don't. You just need to do something. You need to begin. You need to take the next best step, not have the whole plan tied up in a beautiful bow. So if you're ready for support like this, I would love to help you get clear. A next chapter clarity session is a powerful place to start. It's a private, focused conversation where we slow things down and take a closer look at what's really going on and what you may be ready for next. You can book your session at www.talktosusie.com. All right, my friend, if this episode resonated, don't brush it off. Don't ignore it. Are you feeling that something is off? If so, that matters. It matters so much. It's your life asking for your attention. And the good news about this is it means that you're listening. You are listening. And that is a very good thing. Okay, that's what I have for you today. As always, thanks so much for listening to the Women in the Middle show. Speaking of listening, please remember to share it with your friends and other midlife gals that you know would get a lot out of it. Being the queen of your brain domain is the best way to be. It is totally time to stop waiting for the right moment and start creating the happiness, excitement, joy, and fulfillment that you crave. Remember, if you need coaching support for the changes you're excited to make in midlife, I'm here for you, and I offer group and private coaching. For show notes and links, go to www.susierosenstein.com and click on the podcast tab and look for episode 458. And you'll also see a link for my other show, The Women in the Middle Entrepreneurs, which is all about the reality of running your business when you're a midlife gal. It's also on iTunes, Spotify, and all the podcast places. Let's do this, ladies. It's time for you to put yourself first, one thought at a time. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll talk to you next week.